Hello, my name is Maurice Washington. I want to welcome everybody to another episode of Executive Talk. Those that are watching live and those that are listening later on our podcast, thank you so much for joining us in today's segment. Today's show is titled AI in Automation, Business Impact and Strategic Value. There was a lot to that, so I just wanted to make sure I had it correct. I want to make sure you all understand something. This is AI obviously is a new thing. It's been growing and developing over time, but now it's becoming more of a reality. And with me today to talk to us about this reality and what it means to the business world is Rick Callaway with Acrisure Insurance, business insurance specialist. So let's go ahead and bring Rick to the stage. How you doing, Rick?
I'm doing just great. Sitting here doing this rather than doing my taxes, which is no fun at all, but I'm really looking forward to this show. Need to give a disclaimer. I'm not a tech guru nor an AI guru, just someone who started getting interested in AI to see how it would work in my business. And people are scared it's going to take their jobs away. It just enables you to work more efficiently, doing mundane chores by an AI rather than having to spend time doing it yourself.
That's fair. And like Rick said, I'm not an AI specialist either. I know what I know, feel how I feel, but it's good to have this conversation because it is becoming a reality. It's becoming mainstream. And so I want to bring this back before we actually get into this conversation regarding AI and the benefits of it, because I'm certain that there's some benefits. But let's talk about how we got here. Rick, I'm going to give you my thought process on how we got here, and I want you to chime in a little bit as well. For me, as I was thinking about this show, well, I think and this is maybe a hard way of looking at it, but it seems like there's been a war developing. There's been a war developing between business owners and also employees over time. What do I mean by that? Before, I think it was kind of everything was neutral. Everybody knew who the boss was. You worked, you went home, you did your thing. I think over time, a lot of employees have issues with business owners. A lot of business owners have issues and they have their feelings about employees. You can tell, and the reason why I'm coming up with this thought process is you can tell in lawsuits. You have business attorneys, you have employment law. You have all these things that are going on the back end to mitigate this relationship. Business owners want more accuracy, and I believe employees want more transparency. And so we have this middle ground that's been developing, and I believe everybody's been looking for some kind of solution. I know the customers have a direct impact as far as how they feel about businesses that they work with these things that are happening, internally within these companies. But it's just showing up as something in the middle, and this is where I believe the birth of AI has come from. Now, I'll be the first one to admit, I love technology, but I don't like the way that it's taken over. So I'll go ahead and put my bias out there, but it's neither here nor there. But that is my thought process on how we got here. What about you, Rick? What do you think?
Yeah, it developed, I think, over time. It was originally probably just for tech guys working with AI and playing around and screwing around. And then it came more into the business world. And employees are under the misconception that it's going to take their jobs away. From what I've seen and the stuff that I've done, it's just allowing you to work more efficiently. There have been lawsuits and issues. One of them involved a company's HR. They were using AI to screen applicants, and it somehow got a built-in bias, and it was throwing out people over certain ages or certain races. Somebody discovered it, and the company was glad they discovered it because they didn't mean to have it done. They were just trying to make it more efficient. So when they got in 1,000 applications, the HR manager didn't have to read every one of them. That was corrected. The lawsuit was settled, and it was a small lawsuit, fortunately for the company, because it was an inadvertent error. Unfortunately, they had errors in emissions insurance, and it covered the mistake. So. Sure. AI is here to stay. If you're depending on what business you're in, you should start playing with it, see if it can help help. I mean, I used it. Every time I get a quote from an insurance company, it's rather confusing for a normal person to read. So I put it into a proposal. And up until now, it took me about an hour to build that proposal. Now I just upload that quote into AI, and about 2 minutes later, I have a document that I can cut and paste into a proposal and get it off to the client. So I just saved an hour of my time, which allows me to take a longer coffee break. So there are uses for AI. You shouldn't become totally dependent on it. Every once in a while, I'll use it to write an email for me. I'll have something complicated to explain to a client, and I write the email, and I end up with a 42-page document that makes no sense. I throw it into AI. It creates maybe an email bullet pointed, a couple of lines so the client understands, and then I get a response back from the client that says, "Hey, thank you." In fact, I just got one back. A client sent me a question on something. He was actually a prospect, and he sent me a question. I sent him back an email like 10 minutes later. He says, "That's the fastest response that I've gotten from an insurance broker, and more communications than I've had with my current broker in the last 2 years." So I think he's going to be a client shortly.
That's awesome. And, as Rick always does, he brings us right to the point, because he is talking about some of that business impact and strategic value that's within AI. And we're going to bring up some of those points here. And we're going to start out with AI systems rely on sensitive operational and customer information. And so I'm going to take us down these, and Rick, you go ahead and break this down for us. So reduce breach exposure, continuity of operations, compliance with privacy laws, GDPR, HIPAA, CCPA, sustain customer trust.
Okay.
What jumps out to you?
The first one, the reduce breach. They're able to build more with the AI. They're able to build more sophisticated tools to scan your systems to make sure you're not getting hacked. So that's that point. What was the second one?
The second point here was, let's go ahead and get you back. We have continuity of operations.
Okay, that with the use of AI, you're able to continue pretty much on a straight line on your projects you're working on. You can be working on one piece and AI is working on another piece, so you're not delayed waiting for something. Also, with the reduced breach exposure, it keeps your systems up and running. So that's a good thing, because we all rely on our computers to do business. I don't care what business you're in anymore. You need to be somewhat computer enabled.
That's true.
As far as the compliance with the privacy laws, GDPR,
Right.
HIPAA, CCPA, that was what I was talking about with the HR thing, where it was throwing out the people that were over a certain age or a certain sex. So that with the AI, once they got it programmed properly, or actually you teach the AI, once it's been taught properly, you'll get rid of those biases. And we as people have inherent biases, so that eliminates the actual HR director eliminating someone for one reason or another.
Yeah.
And the more efficient you are and the more you can get back to your customer, just like I did with that prospect, you build your customer trust. Your systems are always working. You're responding with an intelligent answer to their questions, and they can conduct their business and stay out of trouble.
And here's what I heard everything you said, but there's a lot that stuck out there. So a couple of words. So number one, speed jumped out at me, and also bias, which creates a risk in exposure to the business.
Absolutely.
When you do have that bias, understand that's an exposure, folks. It does hit right in the businesses, and this is where businesses are actually have concerns with employees and making sure everything is moving correctly. When you think about this relationship that I brought up, Rick, earlier, when you think about business owners and how they respond in HR, you're trying to figure out where and who dropped the ball.
Correct.
It's very hard to pick up a bias and try to figure out who has the bias, who didn't hire, Joe over there because of his age.
Yeah.
You can't pick up on those things. But like you said, with AI in the system, it allowed an opportunity to pick up on a bias and correct behavior. So it minimized the risk.
If a human is doing this process of scanning the applications, they may not even recognize that they have a certain bias.
That's right.
They think they're doing it properly. I don't like that guy, or I don't like this gal, or I don't like this person. When they got a 25-year-old HR person, they see somebody like me apply for a job at 75, they may throw me out thinking I've got no skills, and I probably got a few skills the 25-year-old doesn't have yet.
That's it. No, and let's bring this up, because I mean it sounds funny, but it's a real thing. If you may hire somebody based off of their looks. That you may hire somebody because that's a beautiful gal, or
that's why they hired me.
Exactly. That's right. So there's bias right there. But you see my point. There's those minor details that the human element brings into the environment. It makes something, as far as a business, change its atmosphere, which is human decision making and how it operates and what it decides on. And so those are some patterns that start to show up and compromise the integrity of your business as a whole. And so
it adds consistency to your hiring practices that you may or may not have before. I mean, if you're only hiring one person a year, that's not a big deal. But if you're hiring 20, 30 people, going through all of those applications is very, very time consuming. And if you can get them weeded out to the best, whatever, 5, 10, whatever, you again, you're not losing your job, you're increasing your efficiency.
That's right. And so let's build on that. So trustworthy AI strengthens your brand. So maintain consistency in customer interactions, avoid unintentional bias in pricing or service, build trust with regulators and stakeholders, reinforce your reputation for integrity. Go ahead and take us down this list.
Okay, the same way you maintain consistency with your employees, how you respond to clients using AI to help you maybe with some correspondence or whatever, that maintains consistency in your customer reactions. Again, it automatically avoids the unintentional bias in pricing or service, because I treat all my customers the same, whether they're $1 million client or a 25-cent client. That's the unintentional bias, spending more time on the big client than the small client. The advantage of spending time on the small client is he has friends that own bigger businesses, and they refer them over to you because you did such a good job for him, recognizing that he was only a small client.
Sure.
And I don't know if you can ever build trust with the regulators, but they see you being consistent in what you're doing, and all the stakeholders are seeing your work output and how you're bringing in more money into their coffers. So they're pretty happy with it. And I don't know how it reinforces your reputation, because you build your reputation on your integrity. AI only is another tool for interacting with the client. So if you're already, I don't think if you have a bad reputation for integrity, starting to use AI isn't going to improve that.
Okay. That's fair. So let me bring this up, because as you're talking, this is some of the things that jump out to me, because this avoiding unintentional bias in pricing or service, because this word bias is showing up all across the board in all of our conversations thus far. So pricing and service, you can get greedy with your clients, right? So as far as pricing is concerned, you're not being consistent with that particular pricing. What I'm understanding is with AI, whatever price you tell it to give, that's what it's going to promote. That's what it's going to be. Right. So, is that the gray area that we tend to do? Because in the way that I look at it from a business perspective, that pricing or service, actually specifically pricing, you may be trying to give somebody a price break, whereas AI is not going to give you a price break. If you tell it to, that's the price, that's the price.
Yeah.
Now the service and quality, go ahead.
I get my prices from insurance companies,
Sure.
and I know they're now using AI in underwriting because I can tell from some of the responses I get. But in the old days, I could sit down with the underwriter and walk through the client and say, "Hey, this guy knows what he's doing. Give him a good deal, whatever. Give him some credits." Or I'll take another guy. I go, "Man, this guy doesn't know what the hell he's doing. You better be careful with his pricing." I'm not able to do that as much now. They pretty much ignore all of that stuff. Their pricing model says, okay, if you sell $2 million worth of widgets and you're in Kansas, it's going to cost you this much money, and that's it.
That's the point. So that's the difference in the AI experience versus the human experience.
Correct.
You just actually talked about your potential bias, and your customer, you know what, they're gonna do some weird stuff. Go ahead and just charge them extra, or give them full price. Don't cut any deals.
Now, that's not really a bias. That's allowing them to do proper underwriting. You don't want them charging a guy that really knows what he's doing, the same as a guy that is liable to cause a ton of claims. So it's an informational point, not really a bias. It's just more information for the underwriter.
Okay. And that's good. And this is what we're looking for, folks, because we're talking about the gray areas. So when we talk about the reinforce your reputation for integrity, the consistency does that reinforcement for integrity. Once you're consistent in your pricing and how you do things, you allow that trust factor to increase within the integrity of how your customers see you within the customer interactions. Because again, if too many hands are touching one thing, you have the risk of people changing the narrative. And I think that's what happens within the office spaces. One person changed it without your instruction, without your approval. Now you have to go back and actually deal with the customer and smooth that over. But what we're saying here with AI is it has the opportunity to be that neutral point of it says what it says, and that's what we said, and that's what we're standing on. That's how I perceive that, Rick.
Yeah, and I've also found a useful tool is I've got clients that I've had for 30 years, and clients of a certain size, I don't deal with the day-to-day on them. I don't deal with the day-to-day on any of them. Actually, I deal with problems and issues. My account managers handle that. But I don't get to pick the account manager. I don't get to assign how many pieces of business they have. That's done by corporate, way above my level. But they're so busy, they don't always review I sold 10 cents last year. They don't ask the client, hey, how much did you sell this year? We don't find out how much you sold this year till there's an audit. And then the client's pissed, goes, why the hell well, you told us you only had $2 worth of sales. When in fact, they didn't tell us anything. We just used the application that was in there. So I'm using AI to go into accounts. I'm training it right now and look at what they did last year, what they've done for the last couple of years. Have we updated anything? And if we haven't updated anything, I'm creating a document, or actually I'm not creating it. AI is creating it to send out to them to give me these missing pieces of information. Usually it's missing information is usually sales, number of employees, payroll, but sometimes clients they don't think about it. They start doing something completely different than they did when we wrote the insurance. So all of a sudden they told me they were going to assemble furniture. Next thing I know, they're building the office out itself. So I've got an uncovered, well, a claim would probably get paid, but there's going to be a huge premium increase and an audit increase because I didn't insure you to build buildings. I insured you to fix furniture.
That's right.
And clients are just trying to grow their business. Insurance, who the hell wants to talk about insurance? They're busy with their head down building their business. Hey, I'm in these offices all the time with furniture. Heck, I can probably remodel some of them. They start doing that.
And that's, again, this is beautiful because you're speaking right. Are you speaking our language as far as the AI? We are hearing the changes that we go through as humans. Yeah, you're growing your business, but you went through a change without calling. That requires an update.
Right.
See that there's a relationship factor. There's actually an integrity factor that comes in between this relationship. from the customer side and also from your side. And
Yeah.
when people move and change, it kills the integrity of anything. And here's one of the things that you brought up for us is guardrails around AI outputs help your team. So this avoids costly operational errors, prevent misinformation, reaching customers, improve decision quality, and also keep workflows efficient and dependable. Go ahead and take us down this list.
Well, any error, and when you're dealing with your clients and your business, you're going to end up with an operational error. So you want to
That's
make
right.
sure that doesn't happen. But to get misinformation reaching customers, that's important, because you may send something to a client and he may respond and the email might get missed or something, and they've all of a sudden think, wait a minute, I've got this coverage and that coverage, when actually they don't have that. So by me like what I'm doing with going into the files and looking at things with AI, I'm finding, unfortunately I'm finding errors, small errors, but they're correctable, but they're important. And with AI, I can actually take two policies, load them into AI, and say, compare these two policies. And that takes, a policy is like 80 pages.
Yeah.
It takes maybe 10 minutes for them to build that analysis. And that definitely helps on my decision quality as whether I want to move to carrier A or B, but also helps the client. I can give him the AI document that shows the comparisons to say, we're not going to have this, we're not going to have this, we're going to add this. This is why you're working. And workflows efficient and dependable. That's something in works. And because you can't the AI can build things and do things, but the workflow is built around how you take care of your business.
That's
and
right.
How you do. My workflow is probably best described as chaos, because I'll be working on 3 clients at the same time trying to get things done. So I'll be talking to an underwriter about this client about one thing, and talking to the client about another thing, and then screaming at my underwriter for not getting my quote. So I don't know if I can undo that chaos. It's the nature of this business. Clients call in, they need something done, and this does create an issue, because a lot of this AI stuff and this, whenever you go to a website, you get this chat stuff, and things get done instantaneously. It doesn't work that way in the insurance business. It's got to, I get the information from you, I put the information into somewhere, then it goes to somewhere, and then the information comes back to me. And in most cases, it doesn't happen in a day. In fact, I just reached out to one of my carriers. I'm writing a tow truck company, and he's waiting for his insurance to start his business. And I said, how long does it take to get this thing approved? And they finally said back 5 business days, and I'm at day 4. So hopefully I get it tomorrow so the client can start his business. Workflows are dependent on how a corporate has built workflows as a direction or how to get things done, but for this business, the workflow doesn't necessarily go in a straight line. I might have to go here or there or whatever to get it done. I start over here, and somehow I eventually get over to there, and then back to the customer with what he's want. And when you've been doing it a long time, changing a workflow or doing business differently is obviously a challenge. So I'm trying to use AI to do a bunch of stuff for me that I used to do manually, like making proposals or writing a letter or doing this, that, or the other thing. Everybody needs to start playing with it and learning it at least somewhat.
That's fair. And because, this is also a relationship, because you're not exactly taking yourself out of the picture.
Correct.
There's an improvement and enhancement to what you're not able to do. Because when I look at workflows, keep workflows and efficient and dependable, I look at being organized. That's what stands out to me. And when you look at prevent misinformation reaching customers, that goes back to our previous conversation regarding integrity, but also, actually just hits on integrity. because in the costly operational errors is that human experience. Here's one thing I wanted to bring up when it comes to operational errors. One thing when it comes to employees, Rick, everybody knows that everybody has your PTO, you have everything, you have flex time and so on and so forth. There's a lot of things that are afforded to you as an employee. Well, even though you have that time, doesn't mean your business is stopped. Doesn't
Correct.
mean the flow of your organization. You actually just may have needed that person that day.
Well,
Right?
I've
But
got
you're out of the office. So who picks up that ball? And I feel like that's where some of that customer service, the ball gets dropped within the organization.
well, I've got I have multiple account managers work for me. One of my account managers handles a lot of my larger accounts, so I rely on her. And
Yeah.
she went and got herself pregnant, was out for 3 months, so I actually had to pick up the slack and make sure everything got done, or work with another account manager to get something done. And account manager knows an account, so when they look at it, they go, "Oh, I need to do A, B, C, and D." But when you're working at someone that's looking at it for the first time, they're looking at the chaos and going, "What the hell's going on here? What am I looking for?" So I have to be able to communicate to that person what I need done and where to look for what they're looking for, and then they can get it done. Because I'm trying to learn to not do the stuff that the account manager is supposed to do. My job is
For
to
sure.
sit here and look pretty and sell.
That's fair. And that's exactly what I was alluding to in the beginning of this conversation, folks. Is that's the war. That's when you figure out, that's when you have that conversation when you get back and you came back from your vacation, or you came back from came back from Friday, took the day off for whatever reason, you come back on Monday, you're trying to figure out why the aura in the room is not the same. Well, there's a frustration that is built up from that Friday conversation, from you not being there and trying to pick up that ball and run. I'm not coming against PTO, but we have our own human practices within the office space. But when you draw yourself and you create your business, you're creating your business to draw in business and help, and provide a service. But when you're not there to provide that service and the ball gets dropped, it's counterproductive. And then that's where everybody starts pointing the fingers. And so that's where I come with this fact of AI, although again, I haven't, my personal feeling, I haven't quite adopted it yet. I understand the middle ground of trying to figure out who can still pick up that ball and move forward with it. There's a lot to be said about that.
Well, I found another use. I just started using it. I get calls from clients or prospects, and I sit there and scribble down notes, and then I go back to look at it, and I go, "What in the heck did I write there? That makes no sense." So I started using AI. It'll record the conversation and then give you a transcript. So I've got, okay, this is what we agreed to. This is what we agreed to.
That's right. That's fair. And so we have this point here
right now that I spilled coffee all over.
Let's go ahead and bring up this other point of staying ahead of AI regulations protects long-term growth. So meet emerging AI requirements, reduce legal uncertainty, document decisions for audit readiness, operate confidently as regulations evolve. Go ahead and take us away.
That meet the emerging AI requirements is, at this point, almost ludicrous, because AI is changing so fast, the regulators can't decide what the hell they want to do. The AI creators, or whatever they're called, they're looking at this legal liability and all that stuff to make sure they haven't set something up wrong in their AI system. So relying on the AI people is assuming they're meeting the AI requirements, because if there's an issue by something caused to AI, they're going to get pulled into the lawsuit too, because they created it. So with however many users they have, they could end up with a whole lot of lawsuits, and they don't want these. If you do your business the way you've always done your business, and you're just using AI as an assistant or to take care of some details, you're going to stay out of regulatory control. Just like same thing we were talking about in integrity. If I have integrity, doesn't matter whether I use AI or not. If I'm not a person of integrity, I can't use AI as a way to skirt around that.
Yeah. This is good because we are inevitably the ones that are teaching our AI to do what we want it to do, right? I
Absolutely.
mean, so with that being said, um, don't fall asleep just because you're training this AI to take over. You are jumping into, and everybody's jumping into the zone at the same time. Just like this one thing I learned about, with the relationship with Rick over the years, insurance has to catch up to human error. There's a lot of things that insurance is prepared for then, but then humans, you know how we are. We want to get more creative. We add this. So now insurance has to catch up.
Yeah, because
And it's
people
the same
start from
thing what I feel with those regulations is they're going to evolve and they're going to have to catch up. So it's one of those things. Don't fall asleep on what you're doing and what you're creating within your office because you could create your own monster. You have to stay with it. Excuse me.
yeah.
Go ahead.
We were saying about insurance catching up. Yeah, in all of the years I've done this, I've got cases where clients started businesses doing this, that, and the other thing, and there's no classification for it in the current insurance system because nobody ever thought we're going to have a computer doing stuff for us. But then they catch up and it's fine. But I insure a lot of the strange and unusual, so I end up in that all of the time. I mean, I insure a space station, and that took me a while to put that together.
Yeah,
Thank God it hasn't crashed.
that's right. That's right. So understand there is an evolution that's going to come with this AI. So just make sure as you embrace this as a strategic value or a business impact that you stay on top of everything. And with this, we have, and this is our last point right here, is with the right governance and oversight, AI becomes a strategic advantage, enabling safer adoption, stronger decision making, and long-term operational resilience. Would you agree with that overall ending statement, Rick?
Overall, but if a lot of the governance and oversight is coming from the government, we're going to have an issue. We need the companies that write the AI to take a look at what they're doing and give it proper oversight. We have a third party that doesn't know the damn thing about AI or a business, as some lawmakers. That's going to create a problem. But again, like I said, the guys making this AI stuff, they understand the importance of making it correct and making it, they don't want people who's getting in lawsuits, and they don't want to be put in lawsuits. It's just another tool. It's not replacing anything. It's just another tool. That, like I said, that was a big fear. Oh man, this AI is going to take everybody's jobs and yada yada yada. Well, actually, it's probably going to create jobs because there's going to be a ton of jobs in the data industry. And that
Right.
portion, I mean, they're building huge data centers in the United States right now, and they're even building their own power generation plants. So we've now, because of AI, we've now employed a bunch of contractors and builders, and then the employees that are going to be housed in that data center. So AI just created jobs rather than getting rid of jobs.
It's fair. All right, Rick, you brought us home. What is your final thoughts for everybody? What do you want us to leave with?
Pay attention to what you're doing. Start playing with AI to see what it can do for you. And the more you play with it, the more you'll see the benefit of it. Like I said, I took a process that used to take an hour down to 5 minutes. So I can always use another hour in my day. So pay attention to what you're doing, play with the AI, and go on and do your business.
All right, you heard it from Rick. Rick, is as normal, we look forward to having you back here next month. We're going to have another good conversation, learning more about the insurance industry. Obviously, there's a lot of changes within 2026 and moving into 2027 that we need to get up to speed on, and Rick is going to take us there. So again, thank you, Rick, for your time and always with your knowledge base and helping us navigate this whole AI.
And my pleasure, as always. Hopefully I help
All
some
right, man.
business folks out.
That's it. Feel free to reach out to Rick with your business insurance needs. We'll see you next time, Rick. All right, everybody. I want to thank you all for joining us in today's conversation. Again, this is becoming a big deal. Rick and I have brought up a lot of the uncertainty that's going on. The uncertainty has become so big that, again, is it going to replace jobs? No, we're probably going to need some more people to manage the things that are happening. There's a lot of confusion with every new strategy comes with potential confusion because everybody's trying to adopt it and trying to navigate themselves around it. A lot of people are very excited and very accepting regarding AI, and there's a lot of people that are resisting AI. Not for sure where you land, but the point is we want to make sure that you are staying on top of this. Understand that there's a strategic value to it, but work slowly into it. Know what you, as Rick had alluded to, maybe it's your note taker. Maybe it's something that allows you to keep track of. So that way your job and your business does not get affected immediately. Make sure you're training it and make sure you're staying within the integrity of what you're training. But again, this is another business tool that we wanted to bring up and discuss with you. With AI growing, we'll have another conversation in regards to it. But in the meantime, Rick and I, we actually have to get back to work. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.